Nicola Sturgeon's bluff was called after she was accused of always blaming Westminster when anything goes wrong in Scotland, using political opportunism to drive her party's cause, an expert claimed. Ms. Sturgeon gets away with things other politicians around the world wouldn't, a leading trade unionist told Express.co.uk. It comes as the Scottish National Party (SNP) leader continues to push her country towards an independence referendum, something which can only be granted by the Prime Minister. Yet, Boris Johnson has repeatedly refused to entertain the idea of an India-if too, since the once-in-a-generation vote occurred just 6 years ago. Throughout the coronavirus pandemic, Ms. Sturgeon has been accused of politicizing the crisis to bolster her argument for independence. In her keynote speech to the SNP's annual conference late last month, she argued that unless Scotland separated from the UK, it risked being dragged down by Boris Johnson and his band of Brexiteers. It is something that Paul Embury, a trade unionist, said exposes Ms. Sturgeon's opportunism and game of blaming Westminster the whole time Scotland faces difficult periods. He said, "She's quite an opportunist, and I think because things are seen as so binary in Scotland, the SNP versus the Tories, so tribal, I think she's able to get away with a lot of stuff a normal leader of any other country wouldn't be able to do. She does that by simply blaming Westminster the whole time. It's an astute way to do it but quite a disingenuous thing to do as well." Others have held similar sentiments regarding Ms. Sturgeon and the SNP. Writing for The Conversation in 2015, Professor John Miller from the University of Glasgow argued that Sturgeon's blame Westminster routine hides the dismal SNP record as the party of government. He said that the SNP intentionally underplays its devolved powers as it suits them to push a narrative that the only way Scotland could enjoy real autonomy is if it were to leave the UK to become an independent state. He said, in the core devolved areas of health and education, SNP administrations have done as little as possible. The result is that investment in health has declined relative to investment in England, that hospital waiting times are growing longer, alarmingly so in accident and emergency, that Scottish schools are struggling to maintain even the most basic standards in key skills such as numeracy, and that further education has been cut horrifically, with 140,000 college places slashed in Scotland in recent years. None of these outcomes is the fault of Westminster. Health and education are fully devolved to Edinburgh, and have been since the inception of devolution in 1999.